All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive, as the name suggests, into the world of cold plunging. It's one of those health things, trends you see popping up everywhere these days. You probably heard about all the supposed advantages of it. But I think what's really grabbed my attention is how accessible it is. Like, forget about needing some special equipment. You can literally do this right in your own tub.
Yeah, absolutely. The thought of getting into ice cold water might sound a little extreme, maybe even a little crazy at first, but it's surprisingly simple when you break it down. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to explore the science behind it, give you a clear roadmap of how to do it safely at home, share some insider tips to make it maybe a tad bit easier, and really unpack those real tangible benefits that you might be able to experience. So if you're curious, let's jump right in.
So let's address the elephant in the room, right? Like, why would anyone willingly get into freezing cold water? To be honest, sounds kind of miserable. But what's interesting is that, people have been using cold water for like therapeutic purposes for centuries, right? It's not just some old wives' tale. And now modern science is actually starting to back it up with some pretty compelling evidence.
What's really fascinating is what happens inside your body when you're exposed to that cold water. It's like this massive acute stressor. Like all your systems are suddenly on high alert and they react in all these amazing ways. One of the key benefits you hear a lot about is reducing inflammation. I mean, you've probably seen athletes taking ice baths after, intense workouts. And that's because the sudden drop in temperature makes your blood vessels constrict. And what that does is it helps to limit those inflammatory compounds from reaching your muscles, which can speed up recovery and, reduce soreness. And there's even research showing that after cold exposure, there's a temporary boost in anti-inflammatory cytokines like IL-10. So it's not just numbing the pain, it's actually actively doing something to help your body's inflammatory response.
So it's more than just like a numbing effect. It's actually doing something at the deeper level. And it's not just about sore muscles, right? I've also heard that cold exposure can give your circulation a big boost. How does that work, like physiologically?
Yeah, that's another big one. When you get into that cold water, your body goes into this immediate, oh my God, it's freezing mode. That's vasoconstriction. Your blood vessels are narrowing to keep that core body heat in. But then when you get out of the cold and you start to warm up, those constricted vessels, they dilate. That's called vasodilation. And this back and forth, this cycle of constriction and dilation, it can actually improve the efficiency of your blood flow. Like you're getting more oxygen and nutrients delivered to your tissues.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. People talk about this, like amazing burst of energy and alertness after a cold plunge. It's got to be more than just the shock waking you up, right? What's going on in your brain to create that energy boost?
It's not just a superficial jolt. You're absolutely right. What happens is that cold stress actually triggers the release of norepinephrine. It's both a hormone and a neurotransmitter. And it plays a huge role in your body's fight or flight response. It increases your alertness, your focus, and can even elevate your mood. So that invigorating feeling, it's not just your body freaking out about the cold, it's also this neurochemical surge going on. And it can actually last for a while, which is pretty cool.
Okay, that totally makes sense. And that seems to tie into this idea of building mental resilience, which you hear a lot about. So how does like intentionally exposing yourself to this discomfort actually make you mentally tougher?
Think of it this way. You're voluntarily stepping into an uncomfortable situation, that cold water. It's basically like boot camp for your nervous system. You're training it to better handle those acute moments of stress. You're choosing to feel that discomfort and learning to regulate how your body and mind react to it. And researchers actually call this building metabolic flexibility for your mind. Over time, that ability to handle the stress of the cold can make you more resilient when you're facing other tough stuff in your life, whether it's physical or emotional. It's like you're proving to yourself that you can handle things even when they're not fun at first.
Wow, that's a really powerful way to think about it. And for a lot of people, anything that can boost their immune system is a big plus. What does the science say about the connection between cold plunging and fighting off illness?
Yeah, this is an area where research is still kind of in its early stages. But there are some really interesting studies that suggest a possible link between regular exposure to cold and a stronger immune response. One of the theories is that when your body adapts to that cold stress, it can actually lead to some beneficial changes in your immune cell activity over time. Some studies have even seen an increase in certain types of white blood cells after cold exposure. Now, it's not a magic bullet to avoid getting sick, but it's definitely a promising area that researchers are continuing to explore. So it seems like cold plunging isn't just a fad. There's a growing amount of evidence that suggests it could be a really valuable tool for your overall health and well-being.
Okay, so hopefully we've got you thinking, all right, the science sounds good, but how do I actually do this without, getting hypothermia in my bathtub? So let's break down the steps for cold plunging at home. Step one, getting that tub ready. What do we need to do?
First things first, you gotta fill your tub with cold tap water. Now, depending on where you live and what time of year it is, the temperature of that water can be, all over the place. If it's not cold enough, you're gonna need to add some ice. I'd say start with like 20 to 40 pounds of ice. You can adjust that based on how big your tub is and how cold that initial water is. Ideally, you want to get the water somewhere between 50 and 59 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. That range is usually cold enough to get those physiological benefits we talked about.
That sounds pretty intense.
Oh, it can be, especially when you're first starting out. So it's totally okay to aim for a little warmer temperature at first, maybe around 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 15 to 18 Celsius. As you get used to it, you can gradually make it colder in your next sessions. The goal is to find a temperature that's challenging but not like unbearable, especially in those early days.
Makes sense. You don't want to scare yourself off on the first try. So we've got our ice bath ready. Now, what's the next crucial step before we actually get in?
This is a big one. Step 2, mental preparation. This is just as important, if not more important, than physically getting in the water. So before you even go near that cold tub, take a few slow, deep breaths. Controlled breathing is your secret weapon to handling that initial shock when you hit the water. Really focus on taking long, steady breaths in through your nose, filling up your diaphragm, and then long, gentle breaths out through your mouth. This helps to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which basically tells your body, hey, it's okay, we're not in mortal danger here.
So it's like you're trying to calm yourself down before you even get in.
Exactly. And while you're focusing on your breathing, try to get yourself in a positive headspace. Remind yourself why you're doing this. Remember that the cold, while it might be intense, is temporary. It's a mental challenge as much as it is a physical one.
All right, pep talk done. Time for the real deal. How do we actually get into that freezing water without freaking out?
Don't just jump in all at once. The best way is to go in gradually. Start by dipping your feet in, then your lower legs, letting your body adjust to the temperature. Then, slowly lower yourself in, torso first, and finally, your shoulders. This step-by-step method lets your body acclimate so you don't get that crazy gasp reflex. For the full benefit, you want to be submerged up to your neck. That gives you the most surface area exposed to the cold.
All right, up to the neck. That sounds like there's no turning back at that point.
Yeah.
So once we're in, how long should we stay submerged, especially when we're first starting out?
If you're new to this, start small, like 30 to 60 seconds. That's all you need at first. Really pay attention to your body. Don't try to be a hero. As you get more comfortable, you can gradually increase the time. Most people who do this regularly aim for between 2 to 5 minutes. But especially when you're starting out, it's always better to be safe than sorry, Don't push yourself too hard too soon.
And what about breathing once you're actually in the water? Is it still important to keep that slow, controlled breathing going?
Oh yeah, that's crucial. Keep focusing on those deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Don't gasp or take those short, panicked breaths. That'll actually make the stress worse. Slow and steady is the name of the game. It helps regulate your heart rate and makes the whole experience way more tolerable. Panicking and breathing erratically will just amplify that feeling of discomfort.
Okay, so you've survived the cold, you stayed in for your set time, and now you're ready to get out. What's the best way to warm back up? Is it straight into a hot shower?
You'd think so, right? But actually, it's better to avoid that sudden blast of heat. Step 6. Warm up gradually. When you get out of the water, gently towel yourself off. As you start moving around, your body will naturally start to generate heat. Sipping on something warm, like some herbal tea, can help warm you from the inside out. Let your body do its thing, let it naturally bring your temperature back up. Jumping straight into a hot shower can sometimes counteract some of those good physiological responses you just triggered.
Interesting. It's like you want to let your body do the work of warming itself back up. Now, I know for some people, the thought of getting into 50-degree water, even for a minute, might sound absolutely terrifying. Do you have any tips or tricks to make cold plunging a little less intimidating, especially for beginners?
Definitely. There are some great ways to ease into it. A good place to start is with cold showers. At the end of your regular warm shower, just turn it to cold for 30 to 60 seconds. This helps your body get used to the cold gradually, so it's not such a shock when you try a full plunge.
That sounds like a much less scary first step.
It is. Another good tip is to use mindfulness techniques. While you're in the cold water, focus really hard on your breathing. You could even listen to some calming music with waterproof headphones. That can help distract your mind from the cold and make the time go by faster. Some people find that repeating a mantra helps too.
So basically using mental focus to overcome the physical discomfort.
Exactly. And think about scheduling your cold plunge for the morning. A lot of people find that it gives them this awesome boost of energy to start their day. They feel more alert and focused for hours afterward. It's like a natural, albeit very chilly, alternative to that morning cup of coffee.
Like a shock to the system, but in a good way.
Right. And it can be super motivating to keep track of your progress. Just grab a notebook and write down the date, how long you stayed in the cold water, and how you felt during and after. It's really encouraging to see your tolerance increasing over time. It gives you a sense of accomplishment.
That's a great idea. It makes it more concrete and you can actually see the results.
And just like with any healthy habit, consistency is key. Aim for 3 to 4 cold plunges a week. The more consistent you are, the more your body will adapt and the easier it'll become to tolerate it. You might even start to enjoy it.
Those are all great tips. On the flip side, are there any common mistakes that people should avoid, especially if they're new to cold plunging? Anything that could make it, unpleasant or even dangerous.
Absolutely. There are definitely some pitfalls that you want to steer clear of. First and foremost, don't just jump into the cold water all at once, like we talked about. Ease in gradually to avoid that sudden shock to your system. It can really stress your heart out.
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for a really bad time.
For sure. Another common mistake is forgetting about your breathing. We've said it a few times, but it's worth repeating. Keep that slow, deep, controlled breathing going throughout the whole experience. Holding your breath just makes things harder.
Makes sense. It's like your body's already stressed out, and then you're adding fuel to the fire by not breathing properly.
Exactly. And it's really important to not push yourself too far too fast, especially when you're just starting out. Don't stay in the cold water for too long, especially if it's super cold. It can lead to hypothermia. Start with those short durations and gradually increase your time as you get used to it. It's always better to err on the side of caution. If you start shivering uncontrollably, that's your body telling you to get out.
So start slow, go slow, and listen to your body.
Exactly. And the final mistake to avoid is skipping that gradual warm-up phase. Fight the urge to jump right into a hot shower. Let your body warm back up naturally. It's better for you in the long run.
So to recap, we've really explored the ins and outs of cold plunging today. We've talked about the science behind it, the step-by-step process of how to do it safely at home, and some key tips and mistakes to avoid.
We have. Hopefully you, our listener, are feeling more knowledgeable and maybe even a little bit inspired to give cold plunging a try. It's a practice that has the potential to really improve your mental clarity, give you a natural energy boost, make you more resilient to stress, and even provide a whole host of other health benefits. And you can do it all right from your own bathroom.
So here's a question to ponder as we wrap up. Have you ever tried cold plunging in any form? Maybe you've just turned the shower to cold for a few seconds, or maybe you've gone all in with a full ice bath. We'd love to hear about your experiences, whether they were amazing or, let's just say, memorable. Share your stories with us, or if you have any questions that we didn't cover, feel free to ask.
And as you keep exploring ways to improve your health and well-being, remember that practices like cold plunging can be incredibly powerful tools. Just approach it with knowledge, respect for your body, and a mindful approach. There's always something new to learn about how our bodies and minds work together.